In 1994, Brad Pitt paid $1.7 million for a Craftsman estate in Los Feliz, a home the previous owner, Cassandra Peterson, known to the world as Elvira, said she had personally witnessed apparitions inside. Pitt expanded the compound over 3 decades, then listed it for tens of millions. No reliable record connects his departure to anything supernatural. So what really happens when fame, tragedy, and superstition attach themselves to a house? Over 10 properties, this investigation separates documented deaths from folklore, first-hand testimony from Hollywood myth, and real celebrity departures from ghost stories. Some of these mansions no longer exist. Others still stand behind locked gates. We start with an address the world has been getting wrong for decades. In the 10th place, 2398 Laurel Canyon Boulevard is famously known as the Houdini Estate, but the legendary magician never lived here. The sprawling property actually belonged to real estate magnate Ralph Walker. Historic records prove Houdini only rented a modest guest house down the road at 2435 Laurel Canyon during film work in 1919. Over the decades, popular folklore merged these two distinct locations, turning Walker's grand mansion into a hotbed of phantom footsteps and magician lore. There is no verified record of Houdini owning the Walker estate, nor any documented death or first-hand haunting claim. The property was severely damaged in the devastating 1959 Laurel Canyon fire and later demolished, leaving behind stone ruins that became a monument to a historical mistake rather than a real haunting. It remains a fascinating case of how a physical landmark can absorb a ghost story that simply doesn't belong to it. The strange thing about places like this is that the story you hear online is usually only the surface. While researching and documenting these forgotten places, we uncovered personal stories, strange details, and places most people never talk about, and we put those deeper stories into the Forgotten America files. It's linked in the description and pinned comment. Number 9. In November 1957, actress Jane Mansfield purchased a 40-room Mediterranean-style mansion at 10,100 Sunset Boulevard in Holmby Hills. She transformed the estate into a flamboyant landmark, painting the exterior of vivid pink, adding pink lighting, and designing extravagant pink interiors. Mansfield lived in her pink palace until her tragic death in 1967, but the fatal car crash occurred miles away from the property. This distinction is essential. While folklore associates the home with her untimely demise and spins tales of an enduring curse, no primary records identify a named paranormal witness or independently verify any later owner apparitions. The original structure survived several ownership changes before being completely demolished in 2002, as documented in Los Angeles Times archives and public property records. Ultimately, the mansion's fame relies on its strong celebrity identity and striking design, rather than documented paranormal activity on the grounds, as the tragic events occurred off-site and the haunting stories remain entirely uncorroborated by historical facts. 8th place on our list is 12305 Fifth Helena Drive in Brentwood, the final home of Marilyn Monroe. Purchased in February 1962 for $77,500, this modest hacienda was the only property Monroe ever owned. She lived here for just 6 months before her housekeeper discovered her lifeless body in the early hours of August 5, 1962. The Los Angeles County coroner officially ruled her death an acute barbiturate poisoning, classifying it as a probable suicide. While later conspiracy narratives and public speculation heavily mythologized the tragic event, the actual medical examiner records remain the firm, historical anchor. Despite persistent rumors of her ghost wandering the grounds, there is no named, credible testimony of paranormal activity from any of the 14 subsequent owners. In 2023, new buyers purchased the home for over $8 million and sought a demolition permit, triggering a massive preservation battle. The property was saved in 2024 when the city designated it a historic cultural monument, preserving the silent Spanish-style villa exactly where Monroe's story came to an abrupt end. Number 7. In February 1969, actress Sharon Tate and director Roman Polanski rented the French country-style home at 10,050 Cielo Drive in Benedict Canyon. Only 6 months later, on August 9th, the estate became the site of one of the 20th century's most infamous crimes, when Tate and 4 others were murdered by followers of Charles Manson. Unlike typical Hollywood legends built on vague rumors, this tragedy is fully preserved in police files, court records, and chilling crime scene photographs. For 25 years after the murders, the original structure remained standing, acting as a grim monument that drew morbid sightseers. But in 1994, real estate developer Alvin Weintraub demolished the home entirely to erase its dark history. In its place, he built an 18,000 square foot Mediterranean mansion called Villa Bella, changing the address to 10,066 Cielo Drive to disrupt the path of curiosity seekers. While modern ghost tours frequently claim the hillside is haunted by restless spirits, no actual property owners, including its current owner, television producer Jeff Franklin, have ever documented a first-hand paranormal encounter. The original crime scene no longer exists, and the stories told to tourists today are folklore, spun over a luxury estate built on a completely erased past. 6th place on our list, 730 North Bedford Drive, was the scene of one of classic Hollywood's most notorious domestic tragedies. In April 1958, screen legend Lana Turner was living in this Beverly Hills home when her boyfriend, mob associate Johnny Stompanato, was fatally stabbed in a second-floor bedroom. The person holding the kitchen knife was Turner's 14-year-old daughter, Cheryl Crane, who claimed she was defending her mother during a violent argument. Contemporary Los Angeles Times coverage and court dockets reconstruct a harrowing, very real drama that ended in a ruling of justifiable homicide. Yet, despite the gruesome, highly publicized death within its walls, this address breaks the mold of the typical Hollywood ghost story. Public assessor records and deed histories show the property has quietly cycled through later private owners, but search through decades of biography and local lore, and you will find no named witnesses reporting apparitions, cold spots, or late-night whispers. It stands as a reminder of the dividing line between Hollywood myth-making and historical record, a home permanently scarred by human violence, where the true horror remained entirely in the physical world. 5th place on our list is 360 North Rockingham Avenue, the Tudor-style Brentwood estate of O.J. Simpson. Simpson purchased the property in 1977 for roughly $650,000, occupying it as his primary residence for 2 decades. On June 12, 1994, the double homicide of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman occurred 2 miles away at her condominium on South Bundy Drive. While the media coverage and televised trial footage turned the Rockingham mansion into a permanent symbol of the tragedy, it was never the murder site. Instead, investigators processed Rockingham as a secondary location, famously recovering a blood-stained glove on the grounds and gathering forensic evidence from the Ford Bronco parked outside. Following the high-profile trial, Simpson's ownership ended when he sold the property to a bank in late June of 1994. It was later auctioned in 1997 for $2.6 million. The new owner secured a demolition permit, and in July of 1998, the original house was completely razed, erasing the physical structure to make way for a modern estate. Despite its dark notoriety, public record archives show no verified reports of paranormal activity or hauntings by subsequent owners. The property remains an infamous landmark in Hollywood history, representing a geographical misconception where the true horrors took place miles away from the home that became the face of the crime. Number 4. On June 16, 1959, George Reeves, the actor who brought Superman to television screens, died from a single gunshot wound to his right temple inside his home at 1579 Benedict Canyon Drive. The modest 1,200 square foot shingled bungalow had been purchased in 1947 for $12,000 by Toni Mannix, the wife of MGM Vice President Eddie Mannix and Reeves's longtime lover. Following a late-night gathering, Reeves retired upstairs. A single shot fired from a .30 caliber Luger pistol ended his life. The Los Angeles County coroner and the LAPD officially classified the death as suicide, a finding recorded on his formal death certificate. Yet the absence of fingerprints on the weapon and the bullet's unusual trajectory sparked decades of intense conspiracy theories, with many suspecting homicide linked to Eddie Mannix's studio influence. While public fascination with these unsolved questions has kept the address locked in Hollywood folklore, The rumors of a haunting remain entirely unsubstantiated. Decades of local ghost tours claim the property is haunted by Reeves in his Superman costume, yet a search of historical archives reveals no named, traceable first-hand witness who has ever reported an apparition on the grounds. The property was sold in 1995 for $495,000 and continues to stand as a quiet, private residence in the Benedict Canyon Hills. Its position on our list reflects the chilling reality of a tragic celebrity death whose unresolved public narrative continues to shadow the physical home. Coming to the top 3, the Pyrenees Castle in Alhambra stands as a stark monument to real-world tragedy. In 1998, music producer Phil Spector purchased the sprawling 1925 French-style chateau perched on a private, isolated knoll. Spanning over 8,000 square feet, the fortress featured turrets, walled grounds, and hand-carved wooden paneling, creating an insular environment that mirrored Spector's growing eccentricity and retreat from public life. The estate's imposing Gothic design fueled neighborhood curiosity for years, but its reputation was permanently redefined on February 3, 2003, when actress Lana Clarkson was fatally shot inside the foyer. Though Spector's defense team argued the death was an accidental suicide, a grueling years-long legal process unfolded. Forensic analysis, crime scene evidence, and testimony regarding Spector's volatile history with firearms dismantled his narrative. In 2009, a California court convicted Spector of second-degree murder, a verdict preserved in extensive trial transcripts, Los Angeles Times archives, and Associated Press reporting. Following Spector's death in prison in 2021, property records and assessor histories show the estate was sold for $3.3 million, transitioning back into private, unpublicized ownership. Despite the dramatic architecture and the horrific crime that occurred within its walls, there are no documented paranormal reports, first-hand accounts of apparitions, or statements of supernatural activity from any subsequent residents. The Pyrenees Castle remains a private sanctuary, closed to the public and quiet. Its position on our list highlights a recurring theme in Hollywood history. A home's dark legacy does not require ghosts when the verifiable human tragedy left behind is already so devastating. In second place, the imposing West Hollywood estate at 1486 North Sweetser Avenue, known as Mount Calmia, has long been nicknamed Dracula's Castle. Built in 1927 for mining magnate George Campbell Carson, this dramatic residence was constructed to resemble a medieval Bavarian fortress. The 4-acre property features rounded turrets, stone battlements, 12 hillside terraces, and more than 125 stained glass windows. This cinematic architecture eventually attracted actor Johnny Depp, who purchased the historic estate in 1995 for approximately $2.3 million from flamboyant divorce attorney Marvin Mitchelson. Mitchelson had previously remodeled the interior into an eccentric showpiece, complete with a grand Louis XVI drawing room and even an underground conveyor belt system designed for deliveries. While Depp has quietly retained the property as a private retreat and filming location, the home remains permanently anchored to one of Hollywood's most persistent supernatural legends. For decades, tour guides and local lore have claimed that legendary screen vampire Bela Lugosi lived inside these stone walls. However, property records and historical biographies thoroughly debunk this association. Lugosi never resided at Mount Calmia, and no deed or tax assessment links him to the Sweetser Avenue address. Instead, documented records prove Lugosi's actual Los Angeles home was a Spanish Revival residence located at 10841 Whipple Street in North Hollywood, where he lived from 1941 until the late 1950s. Despite the lack of any historical tie to Dracula's famous actor, the castle nickname endured, fueled entirely by tourist folklore and the home's dark Gothic aesthetic. No independently verified paranormal accounts exist in the public record for Mount Calmia, and the stories of spectral activity are modern inventions. The mansion remains a private, heavily gated sanctuary hidden behind dense foliage just off the Sunset Strip, with Depp's current disposition of the property still requiring final deed confirmation. Its high position is driven by the sheer scale of its architecture, its celebrity relevance, and the fascinating way a fictional Hollywood vampire persona became permanently grafted onto a real-world estate where he never lived. And finally, in first place, 5769 Briarcliff Road in Los Feliz represents the ultimate intersection of architectural history, high-profile celebrity ownership, and direct, unsettling eyewitness testimony. Built around 1910, this craftsman-style mansion is known historically as Briarcliff Manor. It sits on a prime hillside tract that once defined the early 20th century architectural movement in Los Angeles. Originally constructed for oil magnate Louis McRae, the main residence spanned approximately 6,700 square feet, featuring exposed wooden beams, dark-stained wood cladding, heavy gables, and copper-toned accents. In 1916, the estate was acquired by Thomas Thorkildsen, a wealthy industrialist known as the Borax King, who added a distinctive heart-shaped swimming pool to the grounds. This property hosted prominent social figures throughout the silent film era, establishing a reputation for architectural grandeur and wealth long before any supernatural claims emerged. In 1989, actress Cassandra Peterson, famous for her television persona Elvira, purchased the nearly 2-acre estate with her husband. It was during their 5-year residency that the home acquired its reputation for paranormal activity. Unlike typical Hollywood ghost stories that rely on anonymous rumors, this property features direct, on-record testimony from its owner. Peterson reported experiencing multiple unexplained events inside the house. She stated that she and her husband regularly heard footsteps walking across the upper floors and saw transparent figures moving through the rooms. One of her most vivid accounts involved walking downstairs to find a silent man sitting by the grand fireplace. When she addressed the figure, he vanished. Another reported encounter involved a figure resembling a 1930s-era nurse who allegedly stood by Peterson's bed and made threats about taking her husband into the heart-shaped pool. Seeking to quiet the house, Peterson and her husband reportedly brought in a Catholic priest to perform an exorcism, followed by a Native American shaman to cleanse the estate's energy. While these reports remain subjective, personal accounts unverified by official records, they permanently established the mansion's dark reputation in local folklore. In July of 1994, Brad Pitt purchased the Craftsman home from Peterson for approximately $1.7 million. Before the transaction closed, Peterson was transparent about her experiences, warning the actor of the active spirits she believed occupied the house. Rather than backing out of the deal, Pitt was reportedly fascinated by the stories and proceeded with the purchase, beginning a nearly 3-decade association with the property. Over the years, tabloid articles and online forums circulated a theory that a former roommate of actor Mark Hamill had committed suicide on the property, offering a physical explanation for the alleged hauntings. Yet a systematic search of county archives, police records, and coroner files reveals no such tragedy ever occurred at the Briarcliff address. There are no documented deaths, violent crimes, or legal cases of that nature connected to the property during any era. The story remains an unverified tabloid rumor, showing how public imagination often invents real-world tragedies to justify local legends. During his ownership, Pitt did not flee the home. Instead, he systematically expanded the estate by acquiring 4 adjacent parcels of land over the next 20 years. What began as a single historic house became a highly secured private 2-acre compound. Pitt added a custom skate park, a koi pond, multiple swimming pools, a private gym, and a network of guest houses, turning the estate into a massive sanctuary. The home served as his primary residence and a retreat for his family, far removed from the public eye. In early 2023, Pitt listed the compound for $40 million, eventually selling it in April of that year to oil heiress Eileen Getty. Official deed records and real estate filings show the transaction was completed as a property swap valued at $33 million, though initial media reports claimed a higher price of $39 million. Despite public speculation that the home's haunted reputation had finally driven the actor away, Pitt's documented motive was entirely practical. Public real estate listings and statements from his representatives confirmed that with his children grown, the actor was simply looking to downsize to a smaller, more manageable residence in Los Angeles. This grand Los Feliz compound illustrates the enduring gap between Hollywood folklore and historical reality, where a star's ordinary real estate decision is easily rewritten as a supernatural escape. In truth, the power of these legendary mansions lies not in the ghosts that supposedly walk their halls, but in our own refusal to let their glamorous, dark histories rest in peace. Across these historic estates, the true haunting of Hollywood is never a spectral figure in the shadows, but the heavy reality of human tragedy and our own obsession with the dark side of glamour. Ultimately, these legends prove that while stars eventually flee or fade into history, it is the stories we project onto their empty halls that truly refuse to die.